So hello fellow Earthlings. This is Earthling 6455463728. And according to that movie, Get Out, I think that it's a good idea for many black Americans, if not all of them, to get out of a place that's pretty much like the sunken place for them, which is the US. There are 40 million people living in the US who were not born there. And that is pretty close to the population of Afro Americans in the US. Seeing as these people moved to the US for a better life, and the people who live in the US, many Afro Americans, are not probably living their best life, I think it would probably be a good idea for them to get out. This may sound in some way offensive to some people, and I'm sorry. But again, 40 million people in the US left wherever they were living to come to America for a better life. And when you're on the bottom in America, black people in America are poor, higher unemployment for black people in the US than for white Americans, and I think even for Hispanic Americans. How long you live, your life expectancy of black Americans is nowhere near as high as for white Americans. On many other markers, if you have a bachelor's degree or some kind of degree in the US, as a black American, you're probably not going to do as well as a white person who has just a high school diploma. And in addition to all of these different markers, I'm not the first person to have suggested that black people get out. There's a guy called Marcus Garvey who that's what he was trying to do. He was trying, I can't remember the name of his company, but he was trying to create a company for black Americans to go back to Africa. As far as I know, it didn't really work out. He was personally born in Jamaica, or from Jamaica as far as I know. And this was a long time ago. I think his company was called, or his organization was called the Black Star Line. Of course, it's a really long time ago, before Malcolm X and MLK. In addition to that, I think sometime after slavery, some black Americans had organized, maybe the government of America had asked some black people if they wanted to go back to Africa. And they settled in an area of Africa known as Liberia, I believe it is. Yeah, Liberia. So, yeah, there have been times when, what happened is that the US gave or arranged something with Britain, perhaps, to give some of the free slaves land in Africa in the country that's called Liberia. And in other countries, maybe in the Caribbean as well. So there have been people, black Americans, Afro Americans, who have left the US to live somewhere else. But I think by and large, most African Americans would probably not want to do this. To be sure, most people in the world don't want to do something like this. It's not like, 50% of the world gets up and moves sometime in their lifetime from one country to another. I don't think that's really how it works. I mean, no matter how difficult it might be, most people just tend to stay where they are. I'm thinking of someone like Hassan Minhaj, whose family moved to the US. They were Muslim in India, and they moved to the United States. Of course, it's difficult, especially right now, if you're someone who's in the minority in any country that you're in. So his family, being Muslim in a predominantly Hindu country, life, especially now with some of these laws that have been passed in India, and even, for instance, laws that would have been passed in the Dominican Republic for people who are darker, and who had any ancestry, Haitian ancestry. They might not speak any patois or French, but if their grandparents came over to the Dominican Republic, and this was a couple of years ago, many of them probably would have ended up being deported. Even if you have dark skin in the Dominican Republic, you would probably be asked for your papers many, many times. I don't want to say throughout the daytime, but I remember reading about someone who went on a trip to Dominican Republic from America, and they were saying that the people who they traveled with who were dark-skinned were constantly being asked for their paperwork when the bus was stopped that they were traveling on. When it was stopped, I guess people from the army or the government would get on and only ask dark-skinned people for their papers in the Dominican Republic. So if you are dark-skinned in the Dominican Republic, you might want to get out of there, because clearly life is going to be a lot harder. So, but in spite of that, all around the world, a lot of people, and I can understand how difficult it can be to leave your home, to leave maybe the only place that you've ever known, to try to have a better life. But people do that all the time. They just try to do it within their country that they were born in, or that they know. And true, it's not that other countries make it easier for you to go there to live. And if you're a Muslim Indian person, a person who lives in India, and you want to go live in Pakistan, I don't know that it's going to be that easy for you to go live there. If you're a US black person and you want to go live in some part of Africa, I don't know how easy it is for you to go there. If you're even a white person in a predominantly black country, and well, I don't want to say that it's going to be easier for you to move, but it might be easier for you to move to a country where there are other white people. Part of the reason why it might be easier is because, as Trump would have mentioned a number of times in his presidency, maybe in secret, that you'd like people from the Scandinavian countries to come live in the US. And as a matter of fact, when the Republicans passed a law, I think in the 1960s, to change the immigration rules, they thought they were passing a law that would increase the amount of white people coming from Europe to live in the US. But unfortunately, that was not the case. I think it was with respect to bringing in your family and your relatives and so on. They thought that would increase European migration. Unfortunately, as for them, that's not what happened. The reverse of it happened. A lot of minorities started bringing in their families to live in the US. So, yeah, I think it might be slightly easier if you're a white person living in a predominantly black or non-white country to move to the US. Yeah. As a matter of fact, at the university that I went to, I met two people from Spain who won the visa lottery. Both of them were white. And I've never met anybody who won the visa lottery who was black, actually, or not white. Of course, I haven't met that many people who won the visa lottery. So, But seeing as they want you to provide a picture for that, yeah, I think they probably want to see who they're bringing in. But I think that for many black Americans who might not have traveled to another country, they would believe what they see on TV, which is that a lot of other countries that are majority black are just these poor, squalid countries. And yeah, poverty in many countries that are black is very high. But there are a lot of rich people in every single country on the earth. Every country on the earth has areas that might look like the US. So it is always a way to live a higher quality of life than you might have thought of, even maybe than what you would have experienced in the US if you're a black person. But anyway, guys, wish me LUCSS. You can like or unlike, you can comment, subscribe, and or share. Peace.